The year is 2003, and Dimps and Atari released Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2, the sequel to the acclaimed Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Eager as a beaver, I bought this second-hand from GameStation when I was younger, and I have to say that my feelings towards the game have changed over time. I can appreciate it a lot more for the innovations and risks that it took. Needless to say, overall it is an improvement from the first game. Attempting to create a more faithful cartoony vision within the game, cell shading was adopted. Admirable as it was, it didn't feel quite right. This partly lends to the fact that some colors are manga-based and the others anime-based. The palettes don't mix very well, and due to it looking rather static and flat as opposed to dynamic, it diminishes the effect that it tries to be achieved. This transcends to the gameplay as well. The destroyed stage that I bitched about in the first game has just up and disappeared, which gave me even more reason to behave like an arse. Now what made this game different, and in hindsight actually makes it shine, is in the story department. It plays out like a board game. You control Goku and you have a limited number of moves across boards that correspond to the sagas or pivotal moments in the series. You're joined by support characters and have to meet the objectives given. As you do this, the story progresses, and it has quite a positive effect on the campaign. Budokai 1's problem was the strict linearity of it all, which made fighting a repetitive grind. Giving more freedom alleviates this problem, and immerses the player more. Of course, we lose cutscenes because of this, but it's a reasonable and justified price to pay in this case. It also makes room for a lot of what-if scenarios mid-saga. What if certain characters got into an altercation before a particular event happened? It's all fun, it's fresh, and it's different, and that's what I like most about it. Great improvements were made to the fighting system indeed. Basic key moves have shortened combos, which quickens the pace for matches. For instance, what would be this for a Kamehameha has now been shortened to this. All in all, the frantic nature of the series has slowly been edged towards here, which is good. The health bar has also been increased from 3 to 7, and that's extended the playtime as well as the difficulty. 2 thumbs up there. With regards to customization, not much has changed at all. It's the same basic key skill system from Budokai 1, not that it really needed fixing, but 2 particular mentions are worth praise. First of all, like I said in the Budokai 1 review, the option of changing the character's skills just before the match has been made possible, so smart players can fine-tune their characters at short notice. Secondly, collecting Dragon Balls has now been implemented into the story mode, scattering them across various boards. This is far better than Budokai 1's method, which was to force you to trundle blindly into the shop, vainly hoping that you might see an ultra-rare Dragon Ball capsule, and even at that it was ridiculously expensive. Barbady's spaceship is the main extra for the game, and it lets you fight the in-game characters in a kind of challenge mode in return for, hopefully, rarer capsules. So, all in all, Budokai 2 took more steps in the right direction than it did in the wrong. It did something different with the story, making it more fun to play. It offered more characters, it spanned a greater length of the source material than its predecessor, it improved the fighting mechanics, and generally it was an expansion, albeit without the most impressive visuals. But how successful would a third attempt be? We'll find out next week, possibly. Stay tuned for the Budokai 3 retrospect, as well as some more tutorials. Thanks again for watching. Head over to DBZ Vortex for any news relating to LSW and Spriting on a Whim. If I can get Ravage Gokhan on here, I'll be stating it there first. Now, since this episode is shorter than I would have hoped, I guess I have more time to clear up some controversy from last week. Now, I wasn't saying that all Dragon Ball games are bullshit, and I'm not saying that people are sheep for buying them. Unto each fellow is their own taste, and such merits shouldn't be judged because they're matters of opinion. What I am saying, however, is that Namco Bandai are pining on us, the fans, for guaranteed and lazy successors. They're not pushing any sort of envelope, and they know this, because they don't need to anymore. They can either put effort in and probably make a bit more profit if they're lucky, or release the same goods and have a secure amount of cash made at the end of the day. It's sad, but it's true, and it's obvious by the fact that they're repeating the same folly as Atari and doing the whole 3-prong formula again. We can expect Raging Blast 3 to doubtlessly be the best of the Raging Blasts. But should we need to wait for a third installment every time for it to be worth anything? I think the fans deserve more, and the developers owe it to themselves to devote their time on making something with genuine interest, rather than routine monotony. Those are just my thoughts. Also, I hate Dragon Ball AF, but recognize where credit is due. Dragon Ball Multiverse takes the same characters and puts them in new scenarios. It doesn't play into GT's canon, and it doesn't introduce new levels of Super Saiyan, yet, and I hope that it doesn't. The artwork is impressive and the guys working on it are genuinely dedicated. To piss all over it would be refusing to acknowledge talent, for they're ideas that developers should have introduced long ago. Anyway, that's the end of this episode. Toodles! This has been a DBZ Vortex podcast. Our community is based at www.dbzvortex.tk or forum.dbzvortex.tk. Head over there for a core Dragon Ball Z fanbase, fun people to talk to, and most of all, top-notch LSW sprites that nowhere else on the net has.